Ghana's High Commissioner to South Africa insists nearly 80% of the 300 Ghanaians evacuated from South Africa were documented migrants. Contrary to earlier reports, they were undocumented. Also on the program this afternoon, 4 illegal miners killed in Collapsed Galamsey Pit in the Amansie Central District of Ashanti region. And much later on the program, Court of Appeal dismisses application filed by lawyers of former National Signals Bureau Director for disclosure of national security accounts dating back to 1992. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Now, Ghana's High Commissioner to South Africa has refuted claims by the South African government that only 10 out of the 297 Ghanaian returnees had legal document. Mr. Benjamin Kwashi says that 80% of the individuals were evacuated from South Africa through a chartered Ethiopian airline aircraft were documented. He spoke on Ghana Tonight with Alfred Okanse.
Let me state on record that 80% of the 300 people that we got repatriated to Ghana today, 80% were documented immigrants in South Africa. 20% were undocumented. Now, let me explain. Emmanuel Asamoah, the gentleman that I came to Ghana with, the first gentleman who was accosted by this group, and then they humiliated him, and then they said his documents were fake and all of that. When we told them that the documents were not fake, it was the same immigration department officials who said, no, his documents were faked. We knew it was not fake because we knew very well that they were spinning the whole story. What did we do? I traveled with Emmanuel Asamoah to Accra, Ghana. We went through all immigration posts. We went through immigration modalities. We went through to the counter where Border Management Authority is, and nobody said he was illegal. He was very legal in the country, reaffirming our stance that this whole idea of calling people undocumented and they not being able to identify what being an undocumented immigrant in South Africa is, that is where we are getting to where we are getting to. I have challenged the immigration official who put out that figure that come. Let's all put our books out and let's ensure that everybody sees what it is that we saw during the process of us all coming together, working for these Ghanaians to leave South Africa and go to Ghana. You see, when state institutions who are supposed to take accountability for certain things that they do that are not right decides to also join the propaganda of individuals in the country, then that is where you find no seeming solution to this whole xenophobic attack and how it's unfolding. Because at the end of the day, be clear with the people. Explain to them what we mean by documented and undocumented immigrants in your country. I'm sure that we've challenged him. I'm sure that in the days to come, we'll put our facts out there for everybody to see and for everybody to judge. I'm not here to say that he's doing that for a purpose or whatever. He worked very nicely with us. He was at the Ghana High Commission, sat in our offices, worked with us very well. So I'm surprised that these figures are coming from him. But I'm sure that in the days to come, you hear him retracting those stories and then we move on from there.
And he had Ghana's High Commissioner to South Africa, Benjamin Kwashi. Meanwhile, following the arrival of the Ghanaian evacuees from South Africa, the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, says that the government is committed to reintegrating them into the society. He says they are going to benefit from transport allowance, reintegration allowance, and psychological support, all geared towards giving them a foundation upon their return. Also speaking during the arrival, the Chief of Staff added that the government will ensure proper resettlement packages are given to them, among other assistance that they will require.
To Ghana, your own country, to the motherland. We thank God for safe journey. We thank the Almighty for protecting our lives. And we thank Him for giving us a leader in the person of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, who values the lives of Ghanaians. Today, the Mahama administration is demonstrating that wherever Ghanaians are, we will make sure you are protected, your dignity is respected, and we will go to the length of this world to bring you back home safely. On behalf of President John Dramani Mahama, we say Akwaba to all of you. Obake, Windolo, and we want to thank all our partners. The Chief of Staff has been very instrumental.
And you have there the Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Okudzeto Blakwa, one of the Ghanaians who returned from South Africa on Wednesday, also shared his struggles in accessing legal documents from the country's Home Office. Interestingly, after years of trying to get his paperwork done, Victor Adu Togo says he only received the document shortly before the planned evacuation.
I've lived in South Africa for the past 16 years, and the reason why we came back to Ghana is due to the xenophobia attack, and it was very hectic for us, so we couldn't have a sustainable life.
I was attacked 2 years ago. They arrested me and my child, this little girl, when she was 2 years old, for this passport issue in South Africa. So I'm very happy to be home.
South Africa for no more tatai, no more boy. Until you say, baby, no, say, you feel my name. And in penny for us, Adi omoye maya ye dia omodi prebesi wo se ye nyina ye mforo ne mla omaya de nyame nshira.
And you have there some Ghanaian returnees, of course, from South Africa. In a related developments, the government of Cambodia is requesting all African foreign nationals in the country whose waiver ends on May 31 to vacate the country. And I'll bring you more of that statement released. But let's now get onto the phone lines and engage an international relations expert, Dr. Boniel Gebe, a senior research fellow at the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College. He joins us live on the phone. Okay, we seem to have lost him there. You're still here on the Midday News on 3FM 92.7. Stay with us. And you're still here on the Midday News on 3FM 92.7. Let's speak to Dr. Yao Gebe, who is a senior research fellow of the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College. Good afternoon to you, Doc. I hope you can hear us this time around. Thank you for joining us.
You still have to raise your voice. Good afternoon.
I still have to. I'm actually screaming in the studio, but thank you very much for joining us. What's your initial reaction to the return of the first batch of Ghanaians from South Africa?
Pardon me?
I was asking you your initial reaction to the return of Ghanaians from South Africa. We do understand 297 of them arrived here.
It has to be celebrated. We need to give kudos to the Minister of Foreign Affairs for what it has done so far. Of course, we all know the background to what is happening right now. In a situation where our compatriots are attacked, some even killed in past years, I think this is the best way to handle the situation. And I hope that other Ghanaians who have found themselves trapped in this situation will be quickly and readily brought back to Ghana.
We also are learning now that Cambodia seems to be following suit. What does this mean to diplomatic relations within the sub-region?
Well, in the first place, Cambodia is in a different continent. it is an Asian nation. I was even surprised that we find quite a number of our compatriots residing in Cambodia doing all manner of jobs. Of course, they deserve to earn their living. But it's not limited only to Ghana, but other African countries, including Nigeria, Cameroon, are on the list of African countries whose citizens have to vacate. Now, they made it very clear that some, according to the submission, some of these Africans were either arrested or even fined in the past. And you just have to do the right thing by leaving Cambodia by the close of the month. That's by the 31st of May. If you are still around by 1st of June, you'll be in trouble. I think that the right thing has to be done so that you don't find yourself offending the law. However, I don't know the extent of the diplomatic relations between Ghana and Cambodia to the extent that we have a resident ambassador in that country. But necessarily when it comes to diplomatic relations, what Cambodia needs to do is to inform Ghana, inform any of our ambassadors who is in, or high commissioner who is in charge of that jurisdiction, to be clear that this is the reasons, or these are the reasons why we are saying that these foreigners must comply with our national laws. I don't know whether they've done it. Other than that, it will become complicated, the nature of the relations, diplomatic relations between Ghana and Cambodia. I do not know why they are embarking on this. Our fellow Africans, offending their laws? Are they taking jobs from their citizens, as it is South Africa has alleged? So we do not have the details of this. So it's difficult to actually appreciate necessarily why Cambodia is doing this.
But yes, there's a statement here coming from the Kingdom of Cambodia. I'll just read the first paragraph and the last one to you. It says the Royal Government of Cambodia, through the General Department of Immigration, Ministry of Interior, wishes to inform all African nationals, including citizens of Ghana, Kenya, Cameroon, Uganda, and others, that the waiver granted to you will officially end on 31st of May 2026. The last paragraph says all concerned are hereby informed. In fact, before that, the point 3 says the Cambodia police will start arresting any foreigner at any hideout in Cambodia from the 1st of June 2026 for overstay, and will hand over to the immigration authorities for legal action. And then the last paragraph talking about all concerned are hereby informed to strictly comply with this notice. Is this not indicative, really, of how some of our compatriots really overstay their visas? Although in the case of South Africa, we've seen and heard the High Commissioner to the place telling us that about 80% of our nationals were actually documented.
Yeah, so it is very clear. In the case of South Africa, the explanation, or what they told us, is that they have not been documented. In the case of Cambodia, the point being raised, according to the letter, is that they have overstayed. So it means you have not normalized, or you are no longer considered as a legal resident or immigrant into the country. So definitely it means that they have violated, or they are violating the laws of Cambodia. And the right thing has to be done. Unfortunately, now that a letter has been issued by the Department of Immigration, then it means that there is very little which can be done. Alternatively, since this is an official letter coming from Cambodia, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ghana, can intervene in case they are able to convince the Cambodian government to actually extend the duration for Ghanaians. That's fine. Or the African Union can actually come in, since other African nations have been included. So it should become more of a diplomatic, intervention by individual African nations, or by the African Union for that matter.
Moving forward, though, how do you expect the government of Ghana to react, aside from the interventions? Already, we're seeing on social media a campaign to get South Africans, as it were, face the repercussions of what they've taken our people through. Imani Africa, for instance, the vice president is asking the government not to renew the lease of gold fields. How do you interpret that and expect the government to deal with it?
Well, in diplomatic relations, and for that matter, and in international relations, international politics, we normally talk of carrots and sticks. Carrots and stick diplomacy means that you treat your fellow, nation or state in the international system the way you are treated. So if South Africa is going to continue in this way by attacking our citizenry, using their law to indicate that Ghanaians are no longer, welcome in South Africa. What about their businesses in Ghana? What about their citizens in Ghana? And so that's why when nations decide to do these things, particularly their citizens, governments, leaders must be very careful how they react. And so far, to me, it appears that the government of South Africa is not doing enough to assure other African nations that they are in control of what is happening. They'll stop the genocide, they'll stop the attacks, and what have you. So I am not in any way, accepting of what they are doing. However, the Ghana government must be very careful what it does, because what Imani Africa has just suggested is going into the international economic relations sector, meaning that we will start castigating or paying back, making things difficult for other multinational corporations which are operating in our country. Will that serve a useful purpose? What about it? So it would rather increase the tension. So I would suggest that the Ghana government must do everything possible to continue talking or the dialogue with the South African government, South African High Commission in Ghana should do everything possible to rather reduce the tension and not embark on a carrot and stick kind of, relation. I think that would rather, spoil the good relations between our two nations.
Dr. Yaw Gebet, thank you so much for speaking to us.
It's my pleasure.
And you heard there Dr. Yaw Gebet. He's an international relations expert and also a senior research fellow at the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College. Now, the Court of Appeal has dismissed the request for disclosures of national security accounts from 1992 to date to lawyers of former National Signals Bureau. The court also upheld the request by the defense lawyers regarding the intended purpose of the 49.1 million Ghana cedis. The former National Signals Bureau Director Kwabena Adu and his wife Angela Ejay Boateng are facing multiple charges, including stealing, causing financial loss to the state, and money laundering. His lawyers appealed the High Court's decision, dismissing their request for the further disclosures of several documents from the Attorney General, which they cited will help their case. Samuel Atachia is lawyer for Kwabena Adu and his wife.
The Court of Appeal has said some very material disclosures should be brought to us, and that one of them, which is very consequential, is how the former National Security Coordinator should give us the purpose for the 49.1 million Ghana cedis, because he will understand why 49.1 million Ghana cedis was paid into that particular account. And we believe that that is very consequential. Again, the court said they will not give us the opportunity to enter the space of the national security to see whether the cyber security defense system is there. We are of the humble view that they said because it's not too clear to them what we mean by that. We are of the humble view that is unfortunate, and that we might want to look at and appeal relative to that. On the whole, the rest of the matters that they said, they were at large. For instance, national security coordinators, I think accounts from Rawlins's time to date, as well as the operatives the names of the operatives and the assets they use for national security activities. They are unable to order disclosures. So we'll fetch the full complement of the decision and we'll take quality decisions as to what we should do to ensure fair trial and also secure an arraignment which our clients are not shorting.
Council, as far as the the order for the disclosures of the national security accounts from Rawlinson's time to date, as well as the stay of proceedings which was dismissed, is this something you are willing to escalate?
We might want to escalate it, see, because we wanted to show what they call routine. And routine is lodged in the Evidence Act, that you can look at the pattern of historical behavior to assert a case one way or the other. So we'll look at it. But it's very important that at this point in time, we will look at the core print of the decision and then we'll take some decisions on that.
And he had Samuel Atachian, his lawyer for Kwabena Adu and his wife. Let's speak to Lord Edwasari, who's our court affairs correspondent. Lord, what more do we have to know on this?
Well, Beatrice, so you'd recall that this appeal by lawyers of the former National Signals Bureau director is born from a ruling by the High Court last year in July. Now, you'd recall that during the CMT, they prayed the courts for further disclosures from the Attorney General, basically, and that was dismissed because the Attorney General indicated that it was not relevant to the case. So they escalated the matter to the Court of Appeal, and then essentially the Court of Appeal indicated that their appeal had succeeded in part. And you heard someone outlining some of the wins that they got as well as the losses. Key among them was the fact that the courts ordered for disclosures regarding the 49.1 million and whether it was earmarked for the procurement of cybersecurity equipment. There was also order for disclosures to the accused, the defense lawyers, some 88 pages of the statement of accounts of Advantage Solutions, the account of Kwabena Adu wife. And then there was also information of the source of the 49.1 million. The Court of Appeal ordered that it should be made available to the...
Hello?
Of the... Yeah, basically,
yes.
So basically some of the decisions by the Court of Appeal that went regarding the Kwabena Adu case.
What else should we expect beyond what you've told us?
They were back in court at the High Court because the matter was also up today, and then
Our line to Lord Edwasari is not helping us, but thank you very much, Lord Edwasari. He's our court affairs correspondent, bringing us the latest on this case regarding the former National Signals Bureau Director, Kwabena Adu. We'll bring you more as in when we have the latest on this. Now, 4 illegal miners have been confirmed dead following the collapse of a Galamsey Pit at Skumu near German in Kwanta in the Amansie Central District of the Ashanti region. The tragic incident occurred around 4 p.m. on Wednesday, throwing the entire community into a state of mourning. Information gathered indicates that the abandoned and depleted Galamsey site had recently been handed over by the government to Logist Group Company Limited for reclamation works. Now, however, the victims allegedly sneaked into the site to engage in illegal mining activities when the pit suddenly caved in, trapping them underground. Security agencies, including the Ghana Police Service, were deployed to the area as rescue efforts began immediately after the incident. An excavator was later used on Wednesday evening to retrieve the bodies of the deceased from the collapsed pit. The leader of the victims, Solomon Amedabo, and 3 other boys whose names are yet to officially be released as investigations into the incident continue. Let's speak to William Evans Inkumaman in the Ashanti region. He joins us live on the phone. William, what more information have you gathered on this?
Well, Beatrice, so as we speak now, we've been able to identify all 4 victims of yesterday's mine collapse. So Solomon Amodivo, 27, and we understand that he was the owner of that particular site. Talking about that mining site or pit that caved in yesterday. Ezekiel, that is the only name we've been able to get. He's 19, Dennis Aqua 24, and Abudu 26 years of age. We also understand that Solomon Amodevo and Dennis Aqua are natives of the Amansie Central District, specifically Sukumu, where the incident happened. The two other victims, we understand, were people who had traveled to that particular enclave to do mining, and for that matter, illegal mining. So that is by way of information or an update as we speak, as I engage you.
But how are residents reacting to this unfortunate incident?
Well, so, to some of them, it is a common spectacle because this month alone, they've recorded about, five incidents as far as that particular enclave is concerned. It is not only Sukumu that has recorded this kind of disaster. Beposo and German Kwanta, which are neighboring towns, have also recorded similar incidents. And in terms of casualty, my understanding is that about 10 people have lost their lives through this kind of illegality. It is only yesterday's incident that came into the public domain.
In like 30 seconds, any special arrangement on the side of security after this incident?
Well, so as we speak now, the rescue mission has ended. It ended this dawn when the last person was able to, or the body of the last person was retrieved. And now we haven't received any formal communication or communique from the District Security Council as to what they are going to do. It is not clear whether there is going to be a closure or that particular place will be identified as a crime scene for that must go be cordoned off. As we speak now, there hasn't been any formal communication to that effect. But I can also say that at the very place where the incident happened, there's no security presence as we speak now.
Thank you very much, William Evans Inkom. He's a man in the Ashanti region. The Ghana Water Company Limited has announced the controlled spillage of excess water from the Weija Dam following a rise in water levels beyond the maximum operating threshold of 48 feet. Management says that all spill gates of the dam have been opened to reduce pressure on the facility and protect the structural integrity of the dam. The company explains that controlled spilling is a routine safety measure carried out during the rainy season anytime water levels exceed 45 feet. Officials say the current exercise has become necessary due to rising inflows into the dam and forecasts about the water at the Ghana Meteorological Agency of more torrential rains upstream in the coming days. Management indicates that the spillage could continue for several months depending on rainfall patterns and volume of water entering the dam. Let's speak to Joseph Armstrong Alugbe, who is standing by to paint a picture for us as regards what's happening from the Ghana Water Company Limited ends and the residents' reactions. Armstrong, tell us more.
Beatrice, currently we are at Titegu. Earlier we went to Weija, where the impact started from. The water has extended into Titegu and its environs, where you see many people trying to relocate, carrying some few items belonging to them. They've abandoned all their properties and they are now on their way out of the Titegu community, moving to a higher ground. We are told some of them are moving as far as Kaswa and Dansoman and other places. So the situation here is that we've seen this before, not once, not twice. This is about the fifth time I'm coming to do such reports here. And this impact may not be compared to the last one we experienced some 3 years ago, but gradually the place is being taken over by the spillage water from the Weija Dam. Beatrice.
I'm sorry, because of time, we'll have to end it here. But thank you very much. We'll bring you an update from this. Joseph Armstrong Gold Alugbe bring us update from the Weija area. And that's it for the Midday News here on 3FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Log on to 3news.com for more news. Coming up next is Business Daily. Michael Obodu is standing by.
Hello there, good afternoon and welcome to Business Daily here on 3FM 92.7. Coming up, Ghana reels in $2.61 billion in 2025 as foreign direct investment quadruples. Also, stability in building costs as Ghana's construction inflation holds firm at 2.2% in April. Plus, industry watchers warned proposed Momo wallet to bank transfer fees could harm financial inclusion and deplete small and medium-sized enterprises' capital.
If they impose that 0.75% as a charge on your transfer or transaction, you are going to eventually erode your working capital.
I am Michael Lobodu. Details of these and many other stories lined up for you. Stay tuned. Thank you so much for your time. Straight into our top story, and foreign direct investments into Ghana surged to an estimated $2.6 billion in 2025, marking a massive fourfold increase compared to $652 million recorded the previous year. Chief Executive of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, Simon Maggi, announced the provisional figures at a board strategy retreat. The following report has the details.
The GIPC attributed the dramatic rebound to major improvement in Ghana's macroeconomic indicators, noting that ease in inflation, stabilizing interest rates, and a steadier exchange rate have strongly renewed global investor confidence. According to the CEO of GIPC, Simon Maggi, the surge sends a definitive signal that the international business community is responding to President John Mahama's call that Ghana is wide open for business. He revealed the companies have already announced plans to invest well over $5 billion into the economy over the next couple of years. The $2.61 billion investment pool in 2025 spans 253 new and verified expansion projects monitored across JIPC, the Petroleum Commission, and the Ghana Free Zones Authority. The Free Zones Authority pulled in the lion's share of new commitments, capturing $1.437 billion across 180 projects. All investors are targeting diverse sectors, including a massive push into manufacturing, oil and gas expansions by Jubilee Partners, and pioneering projects in artificial intelligence. Traditional investment routes remain firm. China continues to dominate the total number of approved projects, while the Cayman Islands holds the top spot for overall financial value. GIPC plans to release its comprehensive finalized 2025 FDI report within the next 2 months.
And that was the 3 Business News Desk report. Now, Ghana's prime building cost inflation held steady at 2.2% in April 2026, matching the rate recorded in March, according to the latest combined prime building cost index. Despite the stable year-on-year headline figure, contractors and developers felt a short-term squeeze as the overall prices of building inputs climbed by 1.5% between March and April alone. This report has more.
A closer look at the Ghana Statistical Service data reveals divergent trends driving the construction sector. Labor pressure eased significantly, with year-on-year labor inflation dropping to 1.0% in April, down from 1.6% in previous month. On a month-on-month basis, labor costs had previously ticked up by 0.8% between February and March. In contrast, material and plant costs are creeping forward. Year-on-year materials inflation rose highly to 2.4% in April from 2.3% in March, fueled by a sharp 1.7% monthly price jump. Meanwhile, heavy equipment saw a massive surge. Plant inflation skyrocketed to 4.7% in April, up from the 2.6% recorded in March, alongside a 1.8% monthly price increase. At the specific commodity level, project managers are facing wildly different budget realities. Glazing and glasswork recorded the highest inflation spike at a stinging 16.2%, while cement offered massive relief, recording the lowest inflation at negative 11.2%. The prime building cost index tracks the shifting cost of materials, labor, and equipment against a 2023 base year of 100 to monitor the changing financial landscape of Ghanaian construction.
That was a 3 Business News Desk report. A financial analyst is warning that introducing a transaction fee or mobile money wallet to bank transfers essentially amounts to charging users on their existing capital rather than on new value creation. Nelson Kujo Kwagbaji projects that this could hit small and medium-sized enterprises the hardest, particularly those reliant on a high volume of daily transactions for regular payments and receipts.
The Bank of Ghana has officially directed Mobile Money Fintech Limited to pause the implementation of its proposed 0.75% fee on direct wallet to bank transfers. Finance and tax analyst Nelson Kujo Kwagbaji points out that applying the fee directly eats into individuals' or businesses' capital.
When you are moving money from your wallet to your bank account, there is no value added or value creation at that point. It's just like you are picking money from your right pocket and you are sending it to your left pocket. And so if they impose that 0.75% as a charge on your transfer or transaction, you are going to eventually erode your working capital.
As of April 2026, there were approximately 83 million registered mobile money accounts in Ghana, with about 26 million active accounts. In April 2026 alone, mobile money transactions reached a record 493.2 billion cedis, with an average of roughly 26 million daily transactions across the country. Kwagbaji argues that Momo Wallet to bank transfers fee is likely to negatively impact financial inclusion.
It is going to serve as a demotivation and disincentive for people to transact, payment and settlement using mobile money transaction. And so for me, I think it's a no-no. To the extent that this new 0.75 will not deepen financial inclusion, but rather decelerate it.
Executive Secretary of Ashanti Business Owners Association, Charles Kusi Apiakubi, welcomes the BOG's directive.
It is a welcome directive, but I was thinking we shouldn't have even gotten to the point where Mobile Money Fintech Limited should have ever dreamed of introducing something like this. We should not make the use of technology become more punitive. It must be flexible, friendly, so that we can get more people to be part of our financial sector and, for that matter, the banking industry.
Before we leave you now, the Bank of Ghana has filed a highly anticipated appeal at the Supreme Court challenging a recent Court of Appeal ruling that ordered the immediate restoration of GN Savings and Loan Company Limited's operating license. The Central Bank is asking the Apex Court to set aside the appeals court judgment and reinstate an earlier High Court decision that had upheld the 2019 revocation of the company's license. This report has more.
The regulator contends that the Court of Appeal erred in law by hearing the case despite the application's failure to state clear particulars of legal errors in their notice of appeal, violating mandatory court rules. The move comes just days after a unanimous Court of Appeal decision dealt a major setback to the Central Bank's landmark 2018 to 2019 financial sector cleanup. The ruling had quashed the High Court's decision labeling the Central Bank's revocation as unfair and unreasonable, and directing receiver Eric Nananipa to hand back control of all assets and operations to Dr. Papakwe Sindum and his fellow shareholders. For Group Indum, the appellate victory offered a potential lifeline to revive the business after years of receivership, asset disposal, and lost market presence. However, this latest escalation shifts the battleground to the nation's highest court, freezing any immediate comeback plans for the financial institution. For the Bank of Ghana, the appeal is a critical defense of its regulatory authority and the legal foundations of its entire banking sector cleanup. Until the Supreme Court delivers its final determination, complete legal uncertainty will continue to hover over the rights of the shareholders, the obligations of the receiver, and the ultimate fate of GN Savings and Loans.
Well, and that's how we end today's edition of Business Daily here on 3FM 92.7. For more stories, please check out our website. It's 3news.com/business. I am Michael Obodu. Thank you for tuning in. As always, please stay safe.